Candace, how did you find carnivore?
Well, I found carnivore through some chronic health issues that I was having. Just to kind of give you some history, I've pretty much always had gut issues. I had my gallbladder removed at a very young age. I was only 15. Even after that, I continued to have just like weird pains in my stomach. I felt like I was constantly dealing with gut issues of some kind, and so I became a very clean eater. I only ate pretty much single ingredient foods such as veggies and fruits, lean meats. Okay, so I was your textbook picture perfect healthy person. Very lean, like I say, worked out, ate very healthy, and yet I just always had gut issues. And so I thought maybe it was a gluten allergy, cut all gluten out, thought it was dairy sensitivity, and still just kind of struggled with weird things. And so January of 2023, I started having this chronic acid reflux. Like I was breathing fire. Went to the doctor. They just was like, basically, here's a anti-acid proton pump inhibitor. Here you go. You're perfectly fine. And I was like, no, it wasn't even helping. And it was till May of that year before I could get in to see a specialist. And so I remember like sitting there thinking, I'm so excited. I'm finally going to get answers. And whenever I woke up from that procedure, I look over at my husband and I'm like, what'd they find? And he's like, oh, nothing. You're perfectly fine, they said. And I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, he was actually telling me, yeah, you were mad at me. I'm like, yeah, because, you go through so much and spend all this money to have this procedure and then to tell you, oh, nope, you're perfectly fine, but yet you're so sick. Even though I physically looked healthy, I was chronically sick. And so had the acid reflux, still telling me nothing's wrong with me, even though I'm breathing fire. I had finally found a drug that helped me, but still, I was relying on this drug 4 times a day, but yet eating like hardly anything as far as ingredient goes. Very healthy, but yet so sick. And I also developed these blood blisters in my mouth. I'd kind of struggled with them before, but they were getting bad to the point where, like, if I ate anything, I would develop this blood blister. And then this blood blister every time I would swallow, the negative pressure would grow. And I mean, it got to where it literally would cut off my airway. It was so scary. Ended up in the emergency room a few times from them. And so I finally was just like, I've got to do something. Like, this is, the quality of my life was just so poor, but yet I was doing all the right things. And so my brother actually, he mentioned to me, and it was August of that same year. I was just fed up, and he mentioned the carnivore diet. And I was like, you are crazy. Like, I'm not going to go eat butter, beef, bacon, and eggs. I'm eating my grilled chicken and my sweet potatoes and broccoli and, Brussels sprouts. And, there's no way I'm going to go eat that stuff. And, of course, it kind of, made me start thinking. And so I started researching. I just, nerded out on Dr. Ken Berry, Sean Baker, Michaela Peterson. She was one that he had recommended that I listen to. And still was just not really sure. And then I stumbled upon like Kelly Hogan. She was one that just really was like, wow, she had done it for like 15 years at that point. She looked amazing. Her story was incredible. And I was like, okay, there is somebody out there who has healed from this, And so I just prayed about it and asked God to guide us. And so September 13th of 2023, my husband and I started the carnivore diet. And holy cow, within 3 weeks, I was off of all of my acid medication. It still blows my mind. And, that doesn't mean at the beginning there was not some rough days. Making the transition from fuel sources that your body is transitioning to comes with some, ups and downs. But once we got past that, we both just started feeling incredible. He had weight to lose. His weight started dropping. I didn't want to lose weight. I actually wanted to maybe put on a little bit of weight. And anyway, we just started feeling incredible, and 90 days came around, and before you know it, now we're almost 3 years in, and it's been a crazy ride, and I've just really dug into this way of life, and now that's why I'm here. I wanted to share my story in hopes to help somebody and encourage them to do this, because the healing is just so incredible. Like, I would just, a few months after we had done it, I was stretching, I still work out every day, and I had this plantar wart on my foot, and I was like, oh my gosh, this has been here my whole life. I've had it chopped off and always came back. And obviously it's a virus dormant in my body, and it was gone. I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is insane. And so sure enough, like, people who had transitioned to this way of life, the virus, does go dormant or whatever. And so just little things like that. Since then, I've not had one of those horrible blood blisters in my mouth, and we're going on 3 years. I mean, I could go on and on and on. The healing that I've had with this way of eating.
So, like in that 3 years, there's been no kind of breathing fire, no acid reflux at all.
Well, so I actually had a pregnancy during that time as well. I continued to be carnivore throughout my pregnancy. I did add, more dairy, a few berries here and there. I guess I was more of your animal-based ketovore during that time, but I have tried over the past 3 years, 3 different times, I have tried to incorporate more foods back in. And when I say more foods back in, like some vegetables, berries, maybe some watermelon, very, very few things. And within about, it's like a 2-week mark, I'm so sick. Like, I just cannot do it. And it's crazy. Like, you think, oh, there's no way this little, like this, I like to grow a garden. So I have a garden, and, I'm like, oh, this squash is not going to bother me, and then a couple weeks later, here we are. And my husband and I both, we were like, we are done with the garden vegetables. Like, even though we were just eating like, a few pieces of cucumber with our meals in the evening, it is just not, it's not okay.
Wow. So, like on a typical day now, how are you eating?
So right now, I'm actually kind of more lion right now. I haven't always been in lion. I just felt like maybe I was having some histamine to eggs. So I thought I decided to give my body a break, and I am absolutely loving ground beef, ruminant meats. That's really all I'm eating right now. Doesn't mean I won't go back to eggs, and I love sardines as well. So sardines are something that if I'm going to be gone for the day, I'll pack a couple boxes of sardines just if I'm out and about, or but yeah, so like right now, my breakfast, I'm eating about a pound of ground beef for breakfast, and then maybe a ribeye for lunch, and then dinner, maybe some more ground beef or something like that, or another ribeye.
So, how have people reacted to this around you? Like, for most people, they would kind of see this as like very, very strange way of eating.
Yeah, and for me, everybody that was close to me knew I was a very clean eater. I was very disciplined. So like, I didn't go to Thanksgiving dinner and eat. Like, I always brought my own food before I was carnivore. And so they knew that like fruits and vegetables and lean meats were my diet, and I wasn't going to steer. I was very, very disciplined in that aspect. And so when I started eating butter and bacon and, ground beef and steaks and all these things, I mean, even now it's weird to me, like, and I'm 3 years in, but yeah, it's a conversation, a lot of conversation I've had with my family. They just know now, like Sunday dinner, my mom knows, like, I need to have steak or some hamburgers for me. And so it's really not a question as far as that goes. And then all of our friends kind of know that we're carnivore as well. And it's so easy. Like, it doesn't really cause any conflict or anything. When we go with people, you can get a steak out at pretty much any restaurant. We don't really eat out. I personally do not like to eat out ever. My husband does. Very rarely do we eat out, but you can get burger patties or a steak pretty much anywhere. So yeah, people think at first I'm like you're kind of crazy, and then when I tell them my story, they're like, "Oh wow!" And then I've had people, of course, start it themselves, and it is so healing for everybody, really. But those who are diabetic or maybe have a chronic autoimmune issue or something like that, I think everybody should give it a try. I truly, truly am passionate about this way of life, and I think it's the proper human diet.
So, have you spoken to a doctor in the time you've been on this? Or I mean, I guess during the pregnancy, you must have been dealing with doctors on occasion.
Yeah. So my doctor was incredibly supportive. Like I didn't have to take the glucose test. He's like, "Give me your blood work or your glucose readings every morning for 2 weeks." Got it. I already had a glucometer. I'm a huge data nerd. So I've had my blood drawn a zillion times over the last 3 years to show what is my cholesterol doing, how's my thyroid, how are my vitamins, how the whole picture. So I have enough data to show them and be fit in favor of this way of life. But even my pregnancy, my OBGYN was completely supportive. He knew the benefits of it. I'm sure deep down he maybe thought I was a little bit crazy, but he was also very supportive. And it was the easiest pregnancy. It was a beautiful delivery. Could not ask for a more perfect, time with that. And then, as far as I do see a doctor pretty regularly, I have hypothyroidism, and we're in the process of healing that as well. And again, this way of life has been healing for that. So I know I'm 3 years in, but I just recently I've got my labs done twice, May, and then a couple times or a couple weeks ago, I went back and had it tested again. And my thyroid is the best it's ever been. And I have 11 years of data. And nothing else has changed. So yeah, just learning the nuance of not just carnivore, but there's different ways to do carnivore. As we know, high fat, low fat, high protein, different ratios. And so just finding what works for you and finding that healing. But yeah, to circle back around to your question, my thyroid doctor is concerned with some of my levels as far as my cholesterol, but she also gets it. Like that cholesterol number continues to be lowered as we've seen in history. I'm not going on a statin. I'm extremely healthy otherwise. And as we know, cholesterol makes up the majority of our brain. I could go on and on with that as well. So there's nothing to be worried about there. And she's open to that too. And yeah, so yeah.
So, how are you managing the hypothyroid? Like, are you taking any meds for that, or are you just supplementing with iodine?
So I'm supplementing with iodine, and I've worked up to pretty good amount, and I'll probably continue to increase that because I've seen so much improvements adding that addition. But I do take a small dose of desiccated thyroid at this time. But I'm hopeful, and I believe I'm going to be able to continue to heal my thyroid and eventually either lower my dose or come off of it completely. So yeah.
Yeah. And so your husband started this at the same time as you. Is he still going with carnivore, and how has that helped him?
Yes, he has stayed carnivore for the most part. He's a little bit more ketovore, I guess you could label him as. He'll have a piece of fruit here and there, much more dairy than me. He has a lot of dairy. He likes oopsie cake and cream cheese, gravy, and all the really good carnivore recipes, which I like to cook, so that kind of works out for me. But yeah, he's lost. I think he lost around 30 pounds, and he's maintained that this whole time. Um, yeah, he's thriving. He's doing well. He has more energy. Yeah, I mean, neither one of us desire any other way of life. Like, that's what people are like, how long are you going to do this? I'm like, I can't imagine not doing this. I feel so good. Like, I have energy that's endless. I've got 2 kids, which I need the energy. I mean, I just in all the healings that I have, like, I know within 13 days, to be exact, that if I add in any kind of carbohydrate, I'm gonna be sick, and, like, horribly sick, and it takes days to get over it, and so it's just not worth it. Like, again, I believe this is the way the proper human diet, so
Yeah. So for you personally, do you think the transition into carnivore was easier because you had always been pretty much focused on a whole foods diet anyway? So it was just a matter you weren't trying to get away from a lot of those addictive things?
well, you would have thought, it just shows you how addictive sugar is in our food industry in general, but day 3 after transitioning, the first couple days, you're like, "Oh, this isn't bad. This is, whatever. Maybe a headache, or something." But by day 3, I thought I was, like, gonna die. I had cold chills, I was sweating, I'm like, "What is happening to me?" And I remember trying to get in the shower and I couldn't even, like, think straight. I'm like, "I probably should not be driving to work today." Like, the brain fog was so unreal. The keto flu is so real. But then once I got past that, it was just like a beautiful rainbow. Um, but no, I mean, the transition was hard, even though I've always been so disciplined. And part of it's a mental thing, in college, every time I had a chance to take an elective, I would take a nutrition class. I've studied this stuff, and to go completely opposite of everything that you know and everything that you've been taught, that takes a lot, for your brain to get rewired. But then physically, you're dealing with this sickness, and so then you're like, "Am I making the right decision? Am I not making the right decision?" But the transition overall, I mean, it's a process. It's gonna be a process for anybody. And the sugar cravings, I wanna really hit on sugar cravings because I wasn't really a sugar addict, or so I thought, but, I had stevia in coffee and teas, and I had stevia, snacks, and stevia in this and stevia in that, and yeah, I wasn't eating sugar, but I was addicted to the sweet taste. And it wasn't until going carnivore did I really discover that, honestly. Um, and so, getting away from that was hard. You start craving sweet stuff and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't have anything," or I don't like to say I can't have because it's a decision, it's a choice, um but to see how strong those desires were, I can imagine somebody who, you know, eats little Twinkies or whatever and then makes the transition. I'm sure it's hard, but it was extremely hard for myself as well. And, like, when I said I was, during my pregnancy, I was very, very sick, and so I started drinking those Zevias, which is like a stevia, soda, I guess you could say, it's ginger ale or whatever. Um, and even just that little bit of sweetness, the food noise was coming back, and the cravings for that sweet flavor was coming back, and so, it just shows you the power of sugar and sweet flavors,
Right.
but yeah, the transition's hard, and I'm sure it would be hard, for anybody.
Mm. So, over time, have any friends expressed interest? Like, "Oh, this looks interesting. I might, give it a try."
Absolutely. I have a sister-in-law and brother. They have tried it, and they both thrived and did well. I think my sister-in-law lost around 25 pounds, felt the best that she's ever felt. But then temptation, you know, um, for me, it was healing a chronic condition. It was healing my body. It was healing those blood blisters. It was healing all those pieces, of my body that I needed. For them, it was more just about weight loss and how they felt. And then, they got busy with their kids are involved in basketball and things like that. Still no excuse, but people like to use busyness as an excuse. And to me, carnivore makes the most sense when you're busy because it's so easy. But yeah, I've had a lot of friends. Some have explored it. Some look at me like I have 3 heads. But then they've seen the transition in my life, and they're like, "Wow, this is powerful," because they knew how scary it was when I had those blood blisters, and they knew how I was dealing with this chronic acid reflux, and to see it gone, they're like, "Yeah, this is powerful stuff. And then I've had just friends of friends who have done it. And, one gentleman, he was taking like, I don't know, insulin 3 or 4 times a day. And his wife was like, we're going to do this. And within like a couple weeks, he was off of his insulin. But then before you know it, he went right back to the standard American diet because it's addictive and that's what they want. And that's why I was like, it's time that we rise up and talk about this because it's so important to see and just to heal your body and to fuel it with the things that it needs.
I think that's true. Like we really do need to be talking about it because I think there's just a general feeling out there with people that if the government allows the food companies to sell this stuff and everyone's eating it, it can't be that bad for us. They wouldn't allow them to sell something bad for us, right? So I think that's one of the reasons it's important for us to be talking about carnivore and better eating and not having ultra processed foods because there has to be some kind of balance to the accepted kind of common sense.
Yeah, Dave, I agree completely. Like that's why I'm so thankful that you have this YouTube channel here to get the word out. It's important that people see that they're putting things in our food. They want us to be addicted. And then if you really look at the big picture of things, like who's owning these companies and partnering with maybe the pharmaceutical company, and it's just it's a rabbit trail. And once you start going down it, you're like, wow.
Mm,
The
yeah.
first thing that comes to mind is like, we're dealing with around here a big boom of alpha gal. I don't know if you know what that is or
Okay, that's where you become allergic to eating red meat.
yes. Yes. And it's a big wave that's happening around here for whatever reason. And I don't think that's ironic. I'm not gonna get too deep in the weeds on that, but I don't think it's ironic that all these people are developing this allergy and then next thing you know, Sprouts is rolling out their fake meat or their lab made meat at the same time. It's just come on, people, wake up. But but yeah, just little things like that. And cattle, prices are high, which praise the Lord for the farmers. But just things like that. They're making it harder and harder for us to get the foods that I feel are the most nutrient dense.
Yeah. So let's imagine that someone comes to you and said, I'm not feeling well. I need to lose some weight. I've also got, some health issues. I want to try carnivore. I'm willing to give it 90 days. Would you advise them to kind of rip the band-aid off and jump in or transition in slowly, gradually cut things out?
Kind of depends on their personality. First, I would hug them and be like, "Oh, yes, you're gonna feel amazing. This is gonna be the best thing that you could possibly do for yourself, and your health." And then, we would kind of talk it through. I mean, I'm kind of like, let's rip the band-aid off. Like when we started, I think I had like some almond milk left in the fridge. And so like we finished that out. I think I did some like sparkling water that was sweetened with something yucky, I'm sure, until we ran out of the case, to get you by with some of those cravings. But until you get that sweet taste gone, you're going to continue to have them. But yeah, and like cheese was a good thing for me whenever I was just like, oh, craving something, I need something. Cheese was a good transition for me. So I think there's ways to still rip the band-aid off, but kind of do it in a way that fits you. You don't want to be miserable where you want to give up because this isn't about giving up. This is about you gaining your health back, you getting rid of whatever that chronic issue is or whatever that is. It's a healing process. It's something that takes, I'm 3 years in and I'm still healing. I'm still finding out this combination works or this doesn't, or eggs work or dairy. There's so many different ways to do this way of eating and different seasons. Like I say, during my pregnancy, I was pretty heavily on dairy. And it was funny, I couldn't stand chicken. which I don't eat a lot anyway, but you know, different seasons of your life, you know, of this healing will look different for you. So rip the band-aid off if you're a disciplined person and you're like, I want to be healed as fast as possible. Let's rip the band-aid off and let's go for it. But if you're like, you know, let's turn the brakes on just a little bit. A couple weeks of transitioning is okay because those first couple weeks is when it gets hard. But also, the quicker you just jump in, the quicker you're going to have the benefit. And so yeah, just kind of see their personality, but what a joy to see somebody wanting this and wanting to transition. And the weight will fall off. I believe your weight will, whatever you need and whatever your body needs, you will settle at. Yeah, between the inflammation, coming away from you and leaving your body, and then also your body feeling safe. You know, we want to heal not just our chronic issue, but our mitochondria. We have so much that's going on in our body from eating the standard American diet that it just takes a lot of time. So don't give up.
Nice. So Candace, if people want to reach out to you, can they find you online anywhere?
Yes, I have you know, Facebook, I have Instagram, kind of dabbling with some TikTok. I have a YouTube as well, but the biggest probably platform for me, I love Instagram. That's where you'll find me the most. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I actually changed my name to Meet MEAT with Jesus because the Lord's a big part of my life and He's been a big part of this journey for me. So I want to share my faith and also this way of eating.
Nice. Well, I'll link to your Instagram and your Facebook in the show notes. Candace,
You.
thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. If I can do anything else, you just let me know.